So, Felipe, from today onwards, I'm the new manager around here. I was wondering who was messaging me at this time of the afternoon on my day off, and it just so happens to be you, Marcus. Nice to hear from you. Hey, you call me manager from now on, all right? Or boss, if that's the route you want to take. What, did something happen to the other manager of the store? I just told you that today I've been made the manager of this sushi restaurant. Could I ask you to please explain things in a little bit more detail for me then? Because as far as I'm aware, your uncle is still the manager of the restaurant and not you. And as far as the position of manager goes, I never even heard about how there would be a new manager elected to run the place. Did I miss some kind of a very important meeting the other day that I was supposed to be at? Well, my uncle just went and took his last breath and will no longer be coming out to run this place or anything else anymore. Really? He passed out back at home just the other day, and when the ambulance came and took him away, that was the last I'd seen of him. All right. I didn't realize. I am so sorry for your loss, Marcus. If there's anything you need my help with, anything at all, please let me know. Of course you'll be helping me out. As for right now, I can't be closing the restaurant at the last minute, but my family and I are all worked up right now and have to be home getting things ready for the funeral and such. So I'm gonna have you and Jay take over the place for me tonight, and for plenty of nights to come, I think. And once I've had time to talk with all of my family about it, we might be holding the funeral at the restaurant itself, so make sure you're all ready for that. I don't want to upset my uncle, who is not in heaven, by having us hold his funeral at his restaurant and it not being in tip-top shape. Understood. When you have all the details about that, please let the staff and I know. I'll get to work on changing things around on the schedule for everyone's shift. Good! Hello, Jay. It's me, Felipe. Did you hear anything at all from Marcus about the situation yet?
I did. Marcus's wife went ahead and sent me all the details about what had happened. I can't believe that he's already gone now. I'm hoping that at some point you and I will be able to go to his funeral as well. Anyway, did you end up hearing about everything from Marcus himself then?
That's right. He came to me and explained everything that had happened and what was going to happen.
I see. So him and his wife worked on contacting the both of us separately.
And so, from what I'd been told, you and I are being left in charge of the restaurant while Marcus is out dealing with his family and the funeral.
So in other words, he's not even thinking about closing down the place for a while then?
That's what it seems like. He said that he'd like to keep the place up and running for all of our customers, I believe. And he's also thinking of holding part of the funeral here, most likely the dinner and such.
Well, his wife did tell me that she thought he was going to want to keep the place open, for his own sake, or something along those lines. But if it's also to hold the funeral at, then I suppose it all makes a bit more sense. He is like a completely different person from his uncle, though, wanting to keep this restaurant open almost as though nothing had ever happened. Such an odd guy.
He sure is. So, can I ask you to go ahead and take care of shifting all of the schedule around and stuff for me?
I'll take care of it. Considering that Marcus won't be around, you're the only person here that can make the sushi that all of our customers want to eat. So I'll take care of everything like that in the office. And when I'm done, I'll come out and let you know before I head out for the night. Now, good luck making all those dishes on your own.
Thank you, Jay. Felipe, listen, bud, cut it out with all of that careless talking while we're serving our customers. All you're here to do is make sushi for them and serve it. Hello, Marcus. Call me the manager or boss. Okay. Did you need anything from me? Today is your day off, right? And like I was just saying to you, I'm not paying you to sit around talking all day to the customers while you're making that sushi. We have a server for that, as well as someone at the front of the house who can handle all of the customers. I find that it is a must to smile and make small talk with the customers while I do my job as a way of entertaining them. Huh? They come over to the counter for a reason, and it's not just to eat the sushi and then go home. And what exactly is wrong with me making the customers laugh and enjoy the service we give at this sushi restaurant? Was that all you had to say to me? If so, then I'll be going now. I have a long day ahead of me and not a lot of time to be staring at my phone.
Philippe, good work today.
Hey, Jay, good work today to you as well. By the way, Jay, by this point in time you should be leaving your work at this restaurant in order to go and help your husband open his place, correct?
Well, I suppose you're right about that, but some things have come up that are causing an issue.
I'm sorry that at a time like now you're having to deal with everything else in life like this place.
My husband understands the circumstances himself, so it's all fine. And actually, my daughter has stepped in to do a lot of the work I was planning to do, so there was no need to worry about me. But there is only a couple of days left. Good luck to you.
Thank you, and right back at you.
And now that you've mentioned all of that...
Ah, right.
Did you take some time to think things through?
Well, that's a good question. I am very thankful that you brought something like that up with me before. But considering all this place has done for me as I've worked here for a long time, I don't want to think about leaving it.
I see. And I completely understand that. You started to work part-time at that place back when you'd just gotten out of middle school and began working full-time after high school. So it's been close to a decade or two for you, right? You ended up gaining so much experience there as well, and could be considered as one of the best sushi chefs around. The fact that you got to work under the previous manager so often was so lucky for you.
I still have a long ways to go before becoming a true master at this, but thank you for saying that, Jay.
But there's one thing I have to say to you right now. The fact that you were never allowed to become the new manager after Marcus's uncle passed away was a major blow to the place, and him taking the restaurant over for himself is going to be the end of it.
What? Oh, but hold on, Marcus is his nephew of all people.
But the man that we all respected and loved working for actually cared about his store and his customers, right? And when it comes to you, you're the same as he was. Meaning you should be the one in charge of the place now, not Marcus. You can actually converse with everyone there without causing a headache. And have always been praised by all the customers. You should be the one running that place. Yet you're having to sit back and let the untrained nephew take it over. Also, I'm sure you're very much aware of this already, but a lot of those customers we had coming before are no longer around, thanks to Marcus, especially the regulars. A lot of them stopped coming over. The fact that Marcus took over the place from his uncle right after he passed away. And that fact alone.
I know. I am very much aware of what's been going on. I've asked that Marcus be more open-minded about the way he approaches and speaks to a lot of his customers, and I've tried to explain to him how a business like this works. But just as I'd suspected, he doesn't really care to listen to me at all. Also, it seems that from the very start he's seen me as some kind of an enemy of his. Currently, I'm in a position where he can't really fire me or anything, so I have that helping me, but I can for sure tell that he doesn't want me around due to the way he speaks to me.
Yet you're still wanting to stay at that restaurant?
Well...
In the past, the manager said this to me. He said that it is always important to respect the sign that hangs out in the front store, and to always make sure the business is doing its best. But if that becomes the only thing one thinks about, costing him the relation he has with his customers and the staff, then he's better off taking that sign down and ending the business for good.
I've heard that story from him in the past as well. Thinking back on what was said, do you think he was talking about something like what's happening here now?
I'm sure you know the answer to that already, right? I don't need an answer from you right now to my earlier proposal, so take your time to think about it.
Will do. Yo, Felipe! I'm gonna be changing up the staff here so you can choose between having your pay reduced or leaving my business. What? What are you talking about right now, Marcus? I said for you to call me manager, and what I'm going on about has to do with Jay. She finally went and left this place after so many years of causing problems here, all because her favorite boss is no longer running the place. So while I'm enjoying my day off, I thought I'd ask all of my staff what they wanted to do as I began to hire new people. But I'm not sure why you're wanting to hire on so many new staff members right now. In the past, both your uncle and Jay did a very good job of managing the place and were able to bring in enough money at one point where they could afford to hire new hands and keep them around. Well, my plan is to lay most of you guys off now and bring in my friends who are all wanting to work here. As the new manager of this place, I feel it's best to be surrounded by those who actually listen to me and who I can trust with the place. Because for some reason you and all the rest of the staff here that were hired by my uncle are never listening to a damn thing I say. It's because you never take your job as the manager seriously here that we can't listen to what you're saying and are always having to talk back to you. Also, you went and started to talk about how you'd be bringing in a bunch of really cheap fish from overseas that's nowhere near as good as the stuff we've been using, and I will not take that. If you're not able to agree with the way I want to run my business, then get the hell out! I thought it was kind of me to give you the option of choosing between a reduced salary or being laid off, but now I'm not giving you a choice anymore. You're done here, bud. Even if you were never going to quit, it's too late now. And once you're out on the streets, you're not going to be able to find another job because this place was all you ever had. All thanks to my uncle taking your familyless ass in after you went to high school. I guess I'm quitting then. You'd better thank me for letting you stay here with that reduced wage. I just said that I'm quitting, though. Wait, what? You're gonna quit your job here? Yes. Do you have any idea what that will mean for you? You quitting your job means that you'll no longer be employed anywhere. A high school graduate like you leaving this place means that you'll never have another chance at a job like this one again. Fortunately, I'm a very good sushi chef with many years of experience under my belt. As long as I'm willing to use these abilities of mine to make the best sushi I can, anywhere would be happy to have me working in their kitchen. Yo, wait! I'll leave my notice on your desk tomorrow, Marcus. No, wait, I'm going now. When you start to regret what you're doing here, don't come crawling back to me! Jay, I would really love to come and work for your husband at his sushi restaurant, please.
Well. You made your choice a lot quicker than I was expecting you to.
Well, something happened that led me to believe that right now would be the best time to go and join you and your husband at that new restaurant.
I see. Considering I'm working for a new place now and have nothing to do with my past job, I don't think I should be asking about all of the details. But Philippe, I'm going to get you all set up to come and join us right now.
Thank you so much, Jay. Yo, Felipe! Long time no see, Marcus. I'm hiring you back into my restaurant, so make sure tomorrow you come in to start working for me right away. What? Also, I'm leaving you in charge of preparing the place for opening. I don't have enough hands right now to do it all. Hold on, I have no need to go back to work for you. Stop being so modest here. You'll only be making half the salary you had here before, but that's better than being jobless, right? And if you're not able to pay for your apartment with that, I'll allow you to come out and live in my family's house. Anyway, I'll be seeing you tomorrow. I have a job of my own already. Huh? And of course, I'm still working as a sushi chef like before. You were able to find another job working for another sushi restaurant? That's right. Which one? One that's in Hawaii. In Hawaii? You knew about how Jay's husband also happened to work in the world of sushi, right? And, well, that husband of hers just so happened to open up a store of his own out in tropical Hawaii. And thankfully they made sure to let me know that I could come out and work for them if I pleased. I was a bit hesitant about what to do at first, but when you came and threatened me with either having my pay cut or having me leave the restaurant, the idea of moving to Hawaii to make sushi for someone else finally popped into my head. And that was the choice I ended up making. What? So that's when you made your choice? So now that you're aware of the situation I'm in, it's impossible for me to go all the way back there to help you. No way! Right now is no time to be messing around, though. If things don't change soon, the whole restaurant itself is gonna be in trouble. Come back here and work for me right now. If you're not here to make all of the sushi, none of the customers are gonna want to spend their money here anymore. What happened to all those friends of yours that you said you'd be hiring on in order to make your staff more trustworthy? About all of them. They assumed that you'd still be working here when they all came, and that's why they made the choice to join me. But when they heard that you quit, they all said things had changed and they no longer wanted to work for me either. So if you were to come back here and start working for me again... I'm sorry, but I'm very busy at the moment. Wait a second, Felipe! Goodbye now. Felipe! Ever since I left that place and moved out of the state, I heard about what happened through a coworker of mine who also happened to be one of the employees I ended up training as my first trainee. He told me that Marcus went and ordered a lot more fish from that really cheap supplier, and that led to all of the remaining staff to have a strike, saying that he was trying to kill his customers with terrible quality fish. And even before that strike took place, a lot of the customers that did end up going there were said to have gotten sick due to most of the fish no longer being sushi grade anymore, leading to a few cases of the restaurant being inspected by the state health inspector. The ratings of the restaurant went down the drain after those inspections came back poorly, and business there became more and more of a rare spectacle. The strikes also became more common until there was only a select few employees remaining there, which wasn't even enough manpower to have the restaurant open for one day. So, in the end, after almost going under and never being able to revive the place, Marcus's older brother went ahead and took the place from him and is currently working on turning the whole entire restaurant and everything around. Of course, Marcus was not allowed to work there after the place was renovated and management had been changed, but his efforts to find other work weren't fortuitous. The word about him being a terrible manager spread like wildfire, and not a single place wanted to hire a man with such a rotten work ethic and horrible track record. He would find some work at places like gas stations and convenience stores, but due to his horrible attitude, he'd cause drama and the like and lose his jobs there as well. Recently, I've heard a rumor going around that he's having to sleep in a cardboard box out on the street every night as he tries his luck at gambling in a nearby casino with whatever money he can scrape up. As for myself, I've been fully moved into my new apartment here in Hawaii and have been working close to 60 hours a week making sure that the restaurant does well. I started off working here with a larger salary than I had when I left the previous restaurant, and I've been told that if the restaurant does good throughout the length of 1 year, I'll be rewarded with bonuses and all. Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought of the story. We look forward to seeing you at the next story.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button. See you next time.
Mia, do you realize what an outrageous thing you've done? Hello, Martha. Outrageous? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Don't play dumb with me. You seduced my Kyle, convinced him to dissolve your arrangement to live together, and then just up and moved out on your own. Excuse me? Seduced him? Dissolved our argument to live together? If we're being accurate here, Kyle was the one who proposed ending the arrangement. There's no way that's true. My Kyle, who loves me more than anyone else in this world, would never suggest such a thing. I am his mother, for crying out loud. Is that so? Well, Kyle didn't tell me anything remotely like that. Maybe you misheard or misunderstood something? The truth is, Kyle and I were only living together because David was still in the picture. Now that David has decided to leave, having finalized his decision to divorce you and move out, there's no longer any point in Kyle and I continuing to live together. What did you just say? That's how things stand, Martha. If you have more to say on the matter, I suggest you take it up directly with Kyle. He is clearly holding back his feelings out of consideration for you. That's why I, his mother, am speaking on his behalf. Well, excuse me, but I'll be taking my leave now. You should have the decency to figure these things out without me spelling them out for you. By the way, I haven't received the new address for where you moved. What kind of person just leaves without notifying anyone? Mia! Mia, where are you? Why aren't you at home? Good evening, Kathy. I moved out, so of course I'm not there. Didn't your mother tell you? She told me, but why did you take Kyle with you? Excuse me? I heard this whole thing about you being the one who insisted on dissolving the arrangement to live together. Stop dragging Kyle into your mess. For your information, Kyle is my husband, and it seems like your mother passed along some misinformation. Kyle was the one who suggested we end the choice we made to live together, not me. That's impossible. There's no way Kyle would suggest something like that. This was the perfect time for me to return to the family home. The perfect time? How exactly is it perfect for you, Kathy? You cheated, got divorced, and now you're back at your parents' place as a failed returnee. What's perfect about that? That's irrelevant. To Kyle and me, that's just a minor detail. He's always been so family-oriented and has adored me, his big sister, more than anyone else in the world. There's no way he'd choose this moment to stop living with us. Oh no, not this again. What's that supposed to mean? It means you should stop being so self-absorbed. That's what I'd like to say, anyway. Excuse me? Oops, looks like I accidentally hit send. You little... Anyway, I'll be taking my leave now. Wait a second, you still haven't told me your new address. Where did you move to? How could you not share something so important? Mia! I found you. I was wondering where you'd moved, and it turns out it wasn't far at all. Just a 10-minute drive away, huh? And to think you're living in a high-rise apartment building. Even if I take the train and walk, it's only about 20 minutes. Honestly, Kyle is such a wonderful son, so thoughtful of his mother. To grant me the dream I have always had of experiencing life in a luxury high-rise like this, he's the best. At this distance, I can visit every single day, no problem. Maybe I should even invest in a commuter pass. I heard from my mother. It turns out you didn't move very far away, huh? See, I knew it. Kyle really does love me so much. So, Mia, how do you feel now that the truth is out? Kyle may seem like he just goes along with whatever you say, but secretly he's doing everything for me. The sister he adores the most. Who would have thought he'd prepare a luxury high-rise apartment just for me? Isn't it shocking? It must have completely blindsided you, right? But in the end, this is my win. With the apartment so close, I can visit daily without any issue. I might actually need to buy that commuter pass after all. I've decided I'll be moving into that high-rise apartment with Kyle. When I thought it through carefully, I realized something important. I'm the one who's getting divorced from my husband, which means I'll have to leave this house anyway. But hey, talk about a total turnaround. This is such an incredible and lucky development for me. It's been a while, Martha. Your timing is interesting. Considering Kyle's grandfather, your father-in-law, just passed away unexpectedly, you seem remarkably cheerful. Exactly. Lucky is the perfect word for it. That seems incredibly inappropriate, don't you think? Oh, you're just jealous, aren't you? Jealous of what exactly? Because as of today, Kyle and I have decided to live together in that high-rise apartment. Here's the deal. I'll give you $300,000 in alimony. In exchange, you'll divorce Kyle and move out of the apartment. $300,000? That's quite a sum. Where exactly do you plan on getting that kind of money? Let me explain that part. Oh, how rare. You're actually getting involved in the conversation. Huh? What's that supposed to mean? Oh, nothing. Please, go ahead with your explanation. You see, our grandfather on Dad's side was quite a wealthy man. Yes, I'm aware. He was once the owner of a large company, and even after stepping down due to age, he continued to grow his wealth through stock investments and other ventures. Exactly, and since Dad is his only son, all of Grandpa's inheritance will go directly to him. Oh, so that's what this is about. But considering that your mother is getting divorced from your father, I fail to see how this situation is anything you should be calling lucky. Oh my, you're not as clever as I thought. Is that so? I think you might want to do a little more research before making assumptions, though. Whatever. Anyway, I'll be moving into that high-rise apartment starting today. By the way, I never got around to asking, how exactly did you manage to track down our address in the high-rise? Oh, one of Mom's friends happens to live in the same building. She said she spotted Kyle there, so she confirmed the room number for me. You're in unit 3602, right? And when exactly was this? I think she said that about a month ago. Quite a while back then. Well, of course. If I told you about the move too early, you'd probably start feeding Kyle all sorts of sly lies. That's why I waited until after all the moving preparations were done to let you know, nice and last minute. But hey, it's not a bad deal for you either, is it? You're getting $300,000 to divorce Kyle. Not to mention Mom is getting $300 million from the inheritance, so $300,000 is just pocket change for her. Oh, $300 million, you say? Exactly. Anyway, the movers will be delivering everything tomorrow, but Mom and I are heading over by train tonight. Is that so? You'd better sign those divorce papers and pack up your essentials before we arrive. Not that showing up now will make any difference. Mia, what is the meaning of this? I just went to visit the 3602 apartment where you and Kyle are supposed to be living, but a completely different couple is living there. Oh my, were you able to get inside? That building's security is usually quite strict. No, I didn't get inside. When I rang the intercom for 3602, a woman answered. At first I thought it was you, so I started talking to her as if it were. But then she corrected me and said I had the wrong person. I see. At first I thought she was lying and pretending not to know me. So I told her to stop fooling around and to open the door immediately. But when I realized she wasn't budging, I got frustrated and kept arguing. And then? Then she called her husband and both of them came down to meet me outside. So it turns out they were strangers after all. Yes, but what is going on? Who are those people? You might have met them before. At my wedding, perhaps. They're my brother and his wife. Huh? Your brother? But I thought your brother was working in Richmond. He was. He completed his 3-year assignment there and returned to the Washington headquarters just a week ago. Since the headquarters is nearby, he and his wife moved back into their home in the 3602 apartment of that high-rise.
Wait, moved back? Why would your brother and his wife be living in Kyle's apartment?
Pardon me, but I think there's some confusion. That apartment, 3602, has always been my brother's property.
What?
While he was assigned to Richmond, the apartment was rented out for 2 years under a lease. Once the lease ended, the place was vacant for a few months until my brother and his wife returned. During that time, he allowed Kyle and me to use it as a temporary residence after we ended the shared living arrangement with your mother.
Temporary residence? Then now?
Yes, we moved out about a month ago, once our new place was ready for us to move into.
A month ago? That's around the same time I managed to figure out where you were living.
Yes, it seems you were just a little too late.
I can't believe this. If only I'd reached out sooner instead of trying to track you down myself. Oh, what a waste.
Your current address. Hurry up and tell me. I'm not telling you.
We don't care about you. We just want to know where Kyle is. You're irrelevant since we're going to make you divorce him with that $300,000 anyway.
Are you still clinging to that plan of paying me $300,000 for a divorce? I mean, $30,000, sure, that's within the ballpark of a reasonable figure that I might understand where you're coming from, but $300,000? Doesn't that seem a bit wasteful to you?
That's just how much Kyle is worth, so hurry up and hand over my adorable little brother. Once you do, I'll make sure to transfer the $300,000 to you.
Kathy, you think I'd be gullible enough to believe in a sum of money that doesn't even exist? Oh my gosh, $300,000? Oh, yay, lucky me! I'm sorry, but I'm not that naive.
Excuse me? What do you mean money that doesn't exist? My mother is absolutely going to get $300 million, you know.
So what you're saying is that your father inherited $600 million in total.
Exactly, which is why half of it will go to my mother when they finalize the divorce.
Are we talking about the division of assets during the divorce proceedings?
Yes, of course.
Well, I'm not sure if this $300 million includes inheritance taxes or not, but let me clarify something for you. Inheritance money is not subject to asset division during a divorce.
What?
That's how the law works. Inheritance funds that your father received won't be transferred to your mother at all.
What are you saying?
If you don't believe me, feel free to ask your father directly. I heard your parents' divorce was finalized today, so I imagine all of these matters have already been settled.
Wait, what? I need to check this with my mother right away. Hey, Mom, where are you? I just heard something outrageous from Mia. She told me that you won't get a single cent of the inheritance Dad received. It seems that's the case.
What?
While you were busy messaging Mia, your father contacted me to inform me that he had officially submitted the divorce papers. So naturally, I asked him when will the $300 million from the asset division be transferred to me? But then he replied, "What are you talking about? The inheritance money isn't subject to asset division." And he added the only money subject to division is $20,000 from our joint savings.
Only $20,000?
That's right. Which is why I'm currently on my way back to see your father to convince him to cancel the divorce.
Wait, let me come with you.
Mia, you know what I've been thinking? You don't have to divorce Kyle anymore. Let's just live together again as a family.
I never had any intention of divorcing Kyle in the first place.
What?
David turned down the idea of remarrying you, didn't he? And now that you've realized $300 million isn't coming your way, you're panicking. But frankly, that's your issue, not mine.
Oh, please, listen to me. Kathy and I are unemployed. But with both you and Kyle earning an income, surely you could support us, right?
Oh, about that. Kyle is currently unemployed as well.
What? What are you talking about? Wasn't Kyle working for the biggest company in the area, thriving in his career?
That company doesn't have a transfer system, right? The farthest a relocation would take an employee is just from the headquarters to a nearby factory or warehouse, within walking distance. But Kyle decided to quit his job, fully aware it would leave him unemployed, because he felt that cutting ties with both of you completely required him to move far away. He's currently focusing all his energy on job hunting.
Cutting ties?
Didn't you notice how Kyle barely responded to any of your messages or calls? That's probably why you've been bombarding me with messages instead.
Well, I just assumed he wasn't replying because you had brainwashed him and turned him against us.
Kyle has already switched to a new smartphone with a different number.
What?
To help him focus entirely on his job search, I volunteered to handle all communications from you and Kathy. I've been holding on to his old phone with his previous contact info. That phone will soon be deactivated.
What did you just say?
Surely you've realized the truth by now. Kyle has struggled for years with the overwhelming suffocation caused by his mother's excessive affection and his sister's meddling.
What are you talking about?
When we got married, the condition you set, living together, was something he reluctantly agreed to. But from the very first day of cohabitation, your constant attempts to belittle me as a daughter-in-law pushed him into deep regret. When the drama of David and Kathy's divorce emerged, Kyle saw it as an opportunity. Using the ensuing chaos as cover, we quietly moved out of the house.
No way.
Kyle left you a message. Here's what he said. Please live the rest of your lives as though your son and brother no longer exist in this world. And goodbye forever.
Oh, that's not true. Kyle would never say such a thing.
Oh, he did. Actually, when we moved into our new place, Kyle was so overjoyed that he couldn't stop laughing. The sense of freedom must have been overwhelming.
Liar! Kyle wouldn't. Give him back. Give me my son back.
Kyle asked me to deactivate his old phone along with mine, so I'll be doing that today.
What?
This means there will be no way to contact us ever again. Consider this your final notice.
Wait, you can't do this. I won't allow it. How am I supposed to live like this? This is impossible.
Right after this, I received a call from my sister-in-law, but I didn't bother to look at the screen. Instead, I turned off my phone completely. I had already made up my mind. It felt as though this was the only way I could create some space for myself in all the chaos that had been unfolding in my life. The call was most likely about some urgent matter, but after everything that had happened, I didn't want to deal with any more of their problems or involvement. I couldn't bear the thought of being dragged back into their web of lies and irresponsibility. I didn't even want to look at the screen, let alone listen to her voice. The last thing I needed was for her to ask me for another favor, or worse, for me to be roped into fixing yet another mess that wasn't mine to begin with. After years of supporting my husband's family through all their financial problems, constant requests for help, and emotional blackmail, I had finally reached my limit. I decided that this time I would not be a part of their game anymore. It wasn't just the phone call that led me to make this decision. It was everything that had been happening over the last few months. My in-laws had been a constant source of stress. They never seemed to understand the consequences of their actions. They never truly learned from their mistakes. They had been living in a world where they thought money could solve everything, and I couldn't keep supporting them anymore. It was not my responsibility to fix their broken lives. So, without thinking twice, I signed up for a new phone contract, one with a completely different number, cutting off all communication from that side of the family. I didn't care if they tried to reach me. I didn't want anything to do with them anymore. This time, I was making sure that I could have a life without their interference, their constant demands, and their inability to take responsibility for their actions. Shortly after, I heard that the house my in-laws had been renting was no longer available. They had decided to break the lease and leave. I was a little surprised to hear that, but in a way it made sense. They had been living in the house for years, but things had been getting increasingly difficult for them financially. I had known they were struggling, but I didn't know the full extent of their problems until now. Apparently, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law didn't have a place to go anymore. They didn't have a home to return to, and I felt a small pang of sympathy for them. It's hard to imagine being in that position, not knowing where you'll sleep or how you'll survive. But at the same time, there was a part of me that didn't feel as bad as I thought I should. These were the same people who had put themselves in this position in the first place. They had made their choices, and now they had to deal with the consequences. I found out that my father-in-law, in his usual optimistic way, had tried to reassure everyone. He believed that the $20,000 inheritance he had received would be enough to set things right for his wife and daughter. He thought they could use it to get back on their feet, to fix everything that had gone wrong, but I couldn't help but feel that he was underestimating how deep their problems really were. He had good intentions, but the reality was much harsher than he seemed to realize. What my father-in-law didn't know was that my mother-in-law and sister-in-law weren't exactly thinking the way he had hoped. They didn't have any plans to use that $20,000 responsibly. Instead, they had placed all their hopes on a so-called phantom inheritance worth $300 million. Yes, you read that correctly. $300 million. It was a completely fantastical idea, one based on nothing more than wishful thinking and sheer delusion. They convinced themselves that they were about to receive this massive inheritance, and it became their main obsession. Instead of putting the $20,000 to good use and using it to get back on their feet, they squandered it. They spent it like it was their ticket to a much larger fortune. They made purchases they could never afford, traveled to places they couldn't afford to visit, and lived in a way that was completely out of touch with their actual financial reality. In their minds, they were already wealthy. They didn't see the need to be practical or cautious with their money because they believed that their $300 million inheritance would arrive at any moment. The problem was, of course, that the inheritance didn't exist. There was no hidden fortune. They were simply living in a dream world, and reality was starting to catch up with them in the most painful way possible. As the days and weeks passed, they continued to indulge themselves in this fantasy, ignoring the mounting bills and obvious signs that their spending was unsustainable. They ignored all warnings, refused to listen to anyone who tried to talk sense into them, and went on a spending spree like they had no care in the world. Their credit cards maxed out, their debts grew larger, and they couldn't understand why things were starting to fall apart. By the time a month had passed, it was all gone. The entire $20,000 had been spent. Not a single cent was left. They had blown through it all in the hopes of one day being able to claim their mythical fortune, but of course it never came. There was no inheritance, and now they were left with nothing but a mountain of debt and a deep sense of regret. In the wake of their financial disaster, they scrambled to find work. The reality of their situation had finally hit them hard, and they realized they had to do something to survive. But by this point, it was too late. They had dug themselves into a hole that was hard to climb out of. Finding work was not easy, and the jobs they managed to find were far from ideal. They ended up taking live-in positions, jobs that required them to work and live in the same place just to make ends meet. The live-in work wasn't glamorous. It was the type of job that most people would rather avoid. But for my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, it was their only option. They had no choice but to accept it if they wanted to keep a roof over their heads. I couldn't help but feel a sense of irony, knowing that they had once been so obsessed with living a life of luxury, and now they were barely scraping by. From what I heard, they were struggling day by day, living paycheck to paycheck. Their work wasn't fulfilling, and they felt trapped in their situation. It was humbling for them, but in a way it was a wake-up call. They couldn't continue living in a fantasy world where everything was handed to them. The reality of their situation was harsh, but perhaps it was what they needed to truly understand the value of hard work and responsibility. As for me, I've moved on. It hasn't been easy, but I've found peace in my decision to cut ties with them. I no longer feel responsible for their well-being, and I'm no longer burdened by their problems. I've learned that I can't fix everything, and I can't change the way they choose to live their lives. But I can control my own life, and that's exactly what I intend to do. I hope, for their sake, that they eventually learn from their mistakes, but I won't be holding my breath. 2 months later, my husband Kyle had successfully found a new job. It had been a long and challenging period for both of us as we navigated the uncertainty of his job search and the financial strain that came with it. The pressure was overwhelming at times, and there were moments when it seemed like things might never get better. But through it all, we managed to stay strong together. Kyle had always been a hard worker, and after a few interviews and some intense preparation, he was finally offered a position that felt like the right fit for him. When Kyle told me the news, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief and happiness wash over me. It was as though a heavy weight had been lifted from our shoulders. The tension that had been building over the past few months seemed to dissipate, and for the first time in a long while, we were able to look forward to the future with a little more hope. I knew that this new job would give us both the stability that we had been desperately craving, and I couldn't wait to see how it would change our lives. Now that Kyle was back on his feet and we were settling into our new routine, we began to talk about the next steps in our life together. One of the things we had both been looking forward to was starting a family. We had talked about it before, but the timing had never seemed right. There had always been obstacles. Whether it was his previous job demands, financial worries, or just the uncertainty of life in general. But now, with Kyle employed again and things beginning to feel more stable, We knew it was time to start planning for the future we had always dreamed of. We sat down one evening, just the two of us, and started talking about our goals and hopes for the next few years. The conversation flowed easily, as it always did when we were talking about our future. We discussed our desires for a family, how we both wanted to become parents, and what kind of parents we hoped to be. It was exciting to think about the possibilities, and we found ourselves smiling as we talked about the little details, how many children we wanted, where we would live, and the life we hoped to build together. It felt like a new chapter was opening for us. The past few months had been full of uncertainty, but now we had overcome that hurdle. We were able to dream again. Kyle spoke about his desire to provide for our family, to create a secure environment where our children could grow up happy and healthy. I shared my excitement about the idea of being a mother, of nurturing and raising a child in a loving home. We both knew that starting a family would require careful planning and sacrifice, but we were ready for it. We had always been a team, and this was no different. As we talked, we both agreed that we needed to take things one step at a time. We didn't want to rush into anything, but we also didn't want to wait too long. We knew that starting a family was a big decision, and we wanted to be sure that we were both ready. We talked about the steps we would need to take, getting our finances in order, preparing our home, and making sure that we were both emotionally ready for the challenges of parenthood. I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement as we discussed the future. It was a relief to finally be in a place where we could look ahead with hope instead of anxiety. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, but we were determined to face it together. We both knew that there would be challenges along the way, but we were confident in our ability to handle whatever came our way. With Kyle's new job, the stability it brought, and our shared vision for the future, I felt like we were finally in a position to make our dreams of starting a family a reality. As we wrapped up our conversation that night, I felt a renewed sense of optimism. We were both excited for the next chapter of our lives, and I knew that no matter what, we would face it together. There would be tough times ahead, but with Kyle by my side, I knew we could handle anything. Our journey had just begun, and I was ready for whatever the future had in store for us. Thank you for watching and listening. We hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought of the story. We look forward to seeing you at the next story.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button. See you next time.